between me and the other girl, and then moving all the way to Alabama with the girl. But he wanted to talk about one time when he had kids and they were looking for me. They were looking for you all the time. While he was doing all that research trying to figure out who I was talking to, he failed to tell anybody that he was engaged to this girl.
What?
While he was still married.
Why would you put me on child support? support if I'm supporting my child already.
You help diapers here and there. I've been doing this since day one, Tony, so don't try that. You haven't been coming around lately because the why? Because she keeps moving and people get tired reaching out here, here. She has reached out to me.
If you don't want me part of Trinity
of times.
This case is a wild ride from the start. Judge Lake kicks things off with Carr v. Villa, where Mr. Carr claims Ms. Villa is a serial cheater who's dodged a DNA test for 3 years. Ms. Villa admits to mistakes but insists Mr. Carr is the father. If you think that's messy, just wait. It's about to get worse than a toddler with cake.
Mr. Carr, you state that Miss Villa is a notorious cheater who tried to pin her daughter Trinity on you.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim there is no way you are the father and had to open today's case because she's been running from you and a DNA test for 3 years.
From a Facebook message to a paternity lawsuit, things escalated fast. Mr. Carr calls Ms. Villa a liar, but admits he kept taking her back. Ms. Villa explains it started as a one-night stand. Then, boom, a baby. Judge Lake is shocked, and even Jerome is nodding like, this is crazy.
He hit me up on Facebook, and it went from a one-night stand to us having a kid.
Wow, that is a huge jump, Jerome. And it turned into a relationship from just meeting on Facebook. What is this, love at first sight for you all? Like, what you were just
No, Your Honor.
We want to do this?
The problem was I couldn't get rid of her, Your Honor.
Things go from bad to worse fast. Ms. Villa proudly says she always admitted when she cheated, as if that helps. Mr. Carr insists she cheated with 8 guys, basically a whole basketball team. Ms. Villa argues it was just one guy, but the real mess begins when they debate the baby's conception timeline.
So how did you find out she was cheating on you?
I told him each time he would let me leave, and I would come back and I let him know that I did it. And he still took me back.
And what would you let him know, Miss Villa?
That I messed around with the person I left with?
No, Your Honor. She cheated 8 different times with 8 different people.
8 different times with 8 different people?
Yes, Your Honor.
In the beginning, no.
Hold on.
Correct.
Math lovers, prepare to be confused. Mr. Carr says Ms. Villa told him she was pregnant 3 days after they hooked up. He swears the dates don't add up. Ms. Villa is certain the baby was conceived in the backseat of a car while his friend was driving. Yes, really. Then, the argument shifts to the baby's due date.
The times of conception was she slept with a man on the 31st of January.
Tony,
Me and her slept together on February the 14th. 3 days later, the 17th, she tells me that she's pregnant. I'm like, how are you pregnant?
Tony, you're a liar.
So you have sex 3 days later and she tells you, now I'm pregnant.
Yes.
So you thinking like, how do you know you pregnant 3 days after we just have sex?
Exactly.
Now it's science time, and it's more confusing than a pop quiz. Mr. Carr insists the Halloween birth date means the baby belongs to the other guy. Ms. Villa swears she was born early, making Mr. Carr the father. Judge Lake just nods like, y'all need a calendar.
If you have your child on October the 31st, that means that it is the other man's
You're a
child.
liar. Trinity
Because
was
that's
due
exactly 9
November
months.
21st. I had her 3 weeks early.
So you're saying the conception window is off, Miss Villa, because since Trinity was born early, you technically would have had a due date of 3 weeks later than that.
Yes, she was due November 21st of 2015. I had her October 31st.
From yelling to crying, Mr. Carr says he's been raising a child who might not be his. He loves her but fears the truth. Ms. Villa tells him he didn't have to stay. Bad timing. Just when emotions hit their peak, Mr. Carr reveals all the times he tried to get a DNA test.
Do you have a relationship with her?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm with her every day of the week, just about. I play my role as a father. No matter what it is, no matter how much pain, I still treat her like she's my own child.
And that hurts you.
Because I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve to go through what I went through.
But you kept taking me back.
Ms. Villa dodging a DNA test could be an Olympic sport. Mr. Carr shows proof of her moving cities every time he tried. She claims she moved for the baby, which makes no sense. Then, her best friend jumps in and spills the real tea.
So you say she's been running away from a DNA test.
I was in Alabama. She was in Tampa, Florida. I tried to hook the cases together. As soon as she received the letter, she moves from Tampa, Florida to Muscle Shoals, Alabama. That's when we stayed together for the little bit that we did. From Decatur, Alabama, she moves from Decatur to Chicago, Illinois.
And boom, everything falls apart. Ms. Villa's best friend admits she had a one-night stand during conception time. The courtroom gasps. Judge Lake gives her the "you did not just lie" look. Ms. Villa scrambles for an excuse, but now everyone just wants those DNA results.
A couple of times she's complained to me that he has not been wanting it.
Why would you put me on child support if I'm supporting my child already?
You help diapers here and there. I've been doing this since day one, Tony,
Trinity,
so don't
like,
try
and
that.
just say
You
a family
have been
member.
coming around
Let's
lately
get to
because
order.
Why? Because she keeps moving and people get tired reaching out. Here.
She has reached out to you plenty of times.
You could hear a pin drop. Judge Lake opens the envelope.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Carr, you are the father.
This case was wild before it even began. Mr. Thompson walked in, hoping to save his 11-year marriage, but things already looked bad. Doubting if newborn Micah was his, he wanted a DNA test, while Mrs. Pate Thompson prayed he was the father, because otherwise things would get messy.
Mr. Thompson, you are in court today in hopes of saving your 11-year marriage. Your wife has a newborn, 4-month-old Micah Pate Thompson, who you hope is your baby, but say your doubts are overwhelming.
Yes, Your Honor.
Their marriage was beyond rocky. More like a crumbling sandcastle, they hadn't shared a room in months, and Mr. Thompson complained about her not cooking, cleaning, or working. Despite the chaos, he still wanted to be Micah's dad, but the doubt was eating him alive.
The current status of our relationship is it's rocky. We don't sleep in the same bedroom. We haven't slept in the same bedroom in years. We haven't had sex probably in about 7-8 months. She don't like to cook, she don't like to clean, she don't like to work. It's a lot going on, other than Micah. So every marriage is not perfect, but it's a lot going on.
Their love story and marriage. It started like a rom-com, but turned into a reality TV disaster. They met in college, and after an unexpected pregnancy, his mom suggested they marry. Their chaotic wedding involved nachos, drinks, and a quick counseling session. It wasn't happily ever after, but definitely what just happened.
We met in college. We had a class together, and he sat behind me, cracking jokes, trying to copy off my test. Next thing you know, we were talking and we were together in a relationship. You couldn't see him without seeing me.
Mr. Thompson, you met and you were very happy together.
Yes, ma'am.
You decided to get married.
She ended up eventually moving in with me and my family.
First signs of infidelity. If red flags were alarms, theirs would be deafening. Mr. Thompson caught her texting other men and started DNA testing their kids. He felt like he was in a never-ending episode of Are You the Father? And sadly, the drama was just beginning.
What went wrong was when me and LaToya first started getting into marriage and stuff like that, I had found out she was doing some things that she shouldn't have been doing. Text messaging, meeting up with guys and stuff like that. So when I confronted her, she said it wasn't true. Found out otherwise. I had to get DNA tests on my first 2 boys by her. We married, but every time, while we're in a marriage, and every time you get pregnant, I gotta get a DNA test.
Separation and moving on, their break only made things worse. Mr. Thompson moved out while Mrs. Pate Thompson made new online friends, like a full-time job. Meanwhile, he stalked her social media like a detective, and what he found was jaw-dropping.
When I left, she said she was gonna work on herself. Me and her had ample
While he was
conversations
with somebody else.
about her working on herself because she deleted me off social media. I found out she started adding all these other dudes to her social media page.
Because you were gone, you were living with somebody else.
She didn't want to move on. She said she was gonna work on,
Were you all planning to get a divorce?
nah.
Yes.
When she said she had a job interview in Atlanta, Mr. Thompson wasn't buying it. She ignored his calls, and when she finally confessed the truth, it was exactly what he suspected, and then some.
So she goes to Atlanta. Me and my other 2 boys, we went out, dinner, movie, we out hanging out. She called me, I missed the call. Called her back, she didn't answer, I'm texting her. She was texting, but she not calling. She said she in a job interview. It don't make no sense. Why are you texting me in a job interview, but you can't pick your phone up? She was like, well, we went out, and my friend took my phone, and she said, we out, so you don't need to be on the phone. I'm like, man, you married, you got kids, and what woman gonna tell you some trash like that?
A second trip to Atlanta and more doubts. The second trip had him in full investigator mode. He checked phone records and found a mystery Atlanta number. Turns out it was a guy. Her explanation? As believable as a cat denying it knocked over a cup.
Go back to Atlanta the second time. So I was like, okay, once again, I know what you're going to do. So I was like, let me go ahead and let you go so I can compile me a little bit of evidence. In the email, there's nothing in there. One Atlanta phone number that keep popping up. And I researched the phone number and it's coming back to a gentleman. So when she finally called me, so what you out there doing? I was like, so I'm looking at the phone bill and this one Atlanta number keep popping up and it's from a male. She was like, one of my friends. Yeah, it's a male.
Plot twist. He wasn't so innocent either. Mrs. Pate Thompson revealed he was engaged to another woman. He tried to deny it, then straight up admitted it. If bad decisions were a sport, they'd both win gold.
Between me and the other girl, and then moving all the way to Alabama with the girl. But he wanted to talk about one time when he had kids and they were looking for me. They were looking for you all the time. While he was doing all that research trying to figure out who I was talking to, he failed to tell anybody that he was engaged to this girl.
What?
While he was still married.
Turns out, Mrs. Pate Thompson first told another guy he was Micah's dad. Mr. Thompson remembered sleeping with her once during that time, but was too drunk to be sure. The question remained, was Micah really his?
The point when you found out you were pregnant with Micah.
The first person I told was the other guy. The timeline and the way, the conception and everything, I was thinking it was the other guy because I wasn't with Marcus at the time.
We had sex one time in that time frame. I don't know if it was before the first time she went to Atlanta or when she came back, but she said it was another time. I don't know. I was drunk anyway, so I don't know which time it was.
Despite everything, Mr. Thompson tried to be there for Micah. He missed the birth due to work, but later stepped up as a father. However, he never signed the birth certificate. His doubts were too strong.
It was a struggle for me to even get her to let me come to a doctor's appointment. And she was just like, I didn't think you want to go because of the situation. At the end of the day, I'm a man before anything, and if I'm gonna be that boy's father, I don't want to miss out on nothing. I missed the birth of the baby because I was out of town for work. You know, I went straight to the hospital. I was watching the baby, you know, doing all types of, the only thing I didn't do was sign the birth certificate.
The results were in, and the courtroom held its breath.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Thompson, you are not the father.
Okay, so this one was wild right from the start. The case of Lyde versus Ellis is introduced, and right away we find out Danielle Lyde has believed for 26 years that Mr. Ellis is her dad. But Mr. Ellis? Nope, he says that's impossible. Claims her mom was out partying and cheating. The way this man is so confident, oh, he's in for a big surprise.
Ms. Lyde, you say that for 26 years you have known only one man, the defendant, Mr. Ellis, to be your biological father, and you're devastated that he is claiming you're not his. You say that Ms. Lyde's mother was unfaithful during your 7-year relationship and that you are certain you are not Ms. Lyde's biological father.
Oh man, this part was straight up heartbreaking. Danielle Lyde talks about how rough her childhood was. No dad, bouncing between foster homes, no male role model at all. She says it was tough, and honestly, you could feel the hurt in her voice. But before you can even start to feel too bad, Mr. Ellis comes in with some next level nonsense.
I didn't really have a relationship with Mr. Ellis. Growing up, it was just me and my mom. I've been in and out of group homes, foster homes, no male role model in my life. It's been hard. I had a long, hard life growing up.
When you hear her talk about her life without you.
Now this was the moment where everyone watching just collectively sighed. Mr. Ellis says he doesn't believe Danielle is his daughter because she's too light-skinned for him to be the dad. He also says her mom was disappearing for weeks at a time, so obviously she must have been with other men. Oh buddy, the logic here is as thin as a single piece of toilet paper.
I'm not her father. I mean, her mother, she disappears weeks at a time, out there partying. Look bright as she is. I mean, I ain't no doctor or nothing, but I'm pretty sure two people this color ain't gonna make no baby this bright-skinned. I mean, she was practically white.
I don't feel like that's correct because my son was white with black hair and blue eyes. I'm not white. I don't have blue eyes.
At this point, we enter full-on mystery mode. Mr. Ellis claims there was already a DNA test done years ago, and according to him, the results were crystal clear, 99.9% not the father. So naturally, he stopped paying child support and moved on with his life. But hold up, because here comes a huge twist that makes this whole situation even messier.
When I was away, her mother called child support on me. They came and took the DNA test.
You got the results back?
I got the results back. It was 99.9 that I wasn't the father. So I showed her the paperwork.
So wouldn't you want to keep some kind of information or record so if I did grow up and I had questions,
no, I would
say,
not.
hey,
I would not want to keep that kind of information.
If you thought this was just a simple case of he said, she said, get ready to upgrade to he said, and she said something completely different. Ms. Lyde's mom steps up and says, yeah, we did a DNA test and it said yes, he's the father. Wait, what? Two completely opposite DNA results? Somebody's lying, somebody's confused, or the universe just decided to mess with this family.
A DNA test was performed, yes or no?
Yes.
What were the results?
They say in the court 99% yes.
That 99.9% that yes, he was Danielle's biological father.
Yes,
Thank you so much. That's what I wanted to know. You may be seated.
At this point, the whole courtroom was sitting up straight, watching this go down like it was a Netflix drama. Ms. Lyde is fed up. She's mad at her mom, mad at Mr. Ellis, mad at the whole situation. She talks about how not having a dad made her make bad choices in life. And honestly, you just want to give her a hug. But before the tears could even dry, things got even more awkward.
I don't look like most of the people on my mom's side of the family, so I know there has to be some kind of connection. People do things in life that is unexplainable. Me, I look at myself and I love myself. I look at myself in the mirror every day and I appreciate myself. If another human being on this earth don't want to accept me for who I am, that's not going to stop me from loving me for who I am.
You ever hear someone talk about their life and just think, dang, this person has been through it? That's what this moment was. Danielle explains how not having a father made her struggle with self-worth and relationships. She says she never had that dad to guide her and help her know what a good man looks like. And if you thought the drama was over, nope. Now enters Grandma Ellis with some things to say.
I feel like if I had a male role model, you know, I wouldn't have to go out there and experience things I experienced looking for love in a man. Like, I should have had that firm man connection bond to where I know what to look in a man. Being with your dad, father-daughter dances, you know, just having that role model I can call on when I'm going through something, or just an extra shoulder and support to cry on.
This was the part where you just wanted to yell, oh, come on now. Mr. Ellis's mom, aka Grandma Ellis, takes the stand and says she never believed Danielle was her granddaughter. Why? Because when she saw baby Danielle, she was too big and looked 4 months old at just 1 month. Oh, and also, some neighbor told her something about Danielle having a brother. Yeah, because obviously neighbors are the most reliable DNA testers, right?
When I first saw the baby at a month old, she looked 4 months old. And from what I had heard from my son, her father's a great big man. What I heard from my neighbor, she has a little brother that she and the little brother were like twins, and the grandmother, Miss Lyde Seniors, brought the baby over in the house behind mine every day for a week.
Just when you thought things couldn't get pettier, this happens. Danielle brings up a moment from when she was 10, saying she ran into Grandma Ellis on a trolley and introduced herself. And what did Grandma say? Get out of my face or I'll smack you. Oh, the audience gasps. But Grandma swears she never said that. It was a real somebody's lying. But who moment?
I was 10. I want to introduce myself like, you know, I'm Mr. Ellis's daughter. On my face or I will smack you.
What? She's lying. This little girl slid up, teenager. She said, hi. I said, hello. Do you know me? I said, no. Should I? I'm your granddaughter. I said, no, you're not. I said, I know who her daddy is, and you're not gonna put that on my son. And they're both lying.
At this point, even Judge Lake was like, all right, what the heck is going on here? She lays it out. Danielle has been told her whole life that Mr. Ellis is her dad, but he says he has proof that he isn't. Yet nobody has actually seen this proof. It's like a detective movie, but with way more yelling and family drama. And finally, we're about to get some real answers.
Her point is she's been told her whole life you are her biological father. You say you had proof that she was not. End of the day, Mr. Ellis, you're saying that she's 99.9% not your biological daughter. And Ms. Lyde, you're saying he's 99.9% your father. And that's where the mystery is.
Because I'm 99.99% lost and confused.
A lawyer steps in to try and explain how something this messy even happens. Turns out, child support cases can be super confusing, and sometimes the system straight up messes up, like, oops, we told you to pay for a kid that's not yours. Our bad. The expert basically says, yeah, it's possible that a mistake was made here. Oh, and speaking of mistakes, we're about to find out if Mr. Ellis made a big one.
As a family attorney for the last 17 years, stranger things have happened in family court. Child support is not for the mother to waive. So even if Mrs. Lyde's mom said, you know, we're on good terms, I'll waive it. You can't do that because the Department of Child Support Services is there and they're involved. And they're gonna enforce the order if, in fact, the father is the father and there's enough income to enforce this order.
You could feel the tension through the screen at this moment. Judge Lake pulls out the envelope. Everyone holds their breath. And then, boom, the DNA test says,
it has been determined by this court. Mr. Ellis, you are the father.
Whoa!
I don't believe it.
I knew it! Yes! Boom! Ha!
No.
Buckle up, folks. This case is about to take us on a wild ride. The judge announces Luttrell vs. Leaks, and Ms. Luttrell is here to find out who her real dad is. She hopes DNA will confirm it, but something tells me it won't be that easy.
Ms. Luttrell, you filed your case because you say after a lifetime of confusion of not knowing who your biological father is and receiving no help from your mother, you are now hopeful because you believe you have finally found your dad.
Imagine meeting your dad for the first time. Crazy, right? Ms. Luttrell confirms she's never met Mr. Leaks. The judge asks if she's ready, and she nervously says yes. You can almost hear the dramatic music.
Yes, I believe that I found him because I did a DNA test through Ancestry.com.
And you have never met him?
No, I've never met him in person, face to face.
Are you ready to see him for the first time?
Yes, I'm really excited. I really would like to see him.
Jerome, will you please escort Mr. Leaks into the courtroom?
Ms. Luttrell's mom gave her 3 different stories. First, dad left for cigarettes and never returned. returned. Then, Mom just didn't want him around. And now, Mom straight up says, "Girl, I don't even know."
I was told that my father had went to the store and apparently was to buy cigarettes, and he never came back. And then when I was 13 years old, she told me that basically she didn't really want my father in my life. I asked her about my father, and she told me that basically, you know, sorry daughter, I just really don't know, so long ago, and I can't remember.
The judge pulls up an exhibit, 3 possible dads. One was a co-worker, one a classmate, and one a mystery man from a party. Mom admits to short relationships and losing contact. This is turning into who's the daddy?
You say there are 3 possible fathers, one of which was a co-worker.
Yes, we dated, we got familiar with each other, and then it ended up in intimacy.
Did you ever tell that person you were pregnant?
I didn't know how to contact them, and I had moved as well.
You also say that there was a classmate.
Mom kind of remembers an African-American man at a party, but she isn't sure if it was Mr. Leeks. Basically, she's saying, I might have been there, he might have been there, who knows? Sherlock Holmes would need more clues.
What happened with Mr. Lee?
It was a party that had occurred in my neighborhood, and I got to know somebody, I don't know if it's him, but somebody that could be her father at that party.
Do you know this man?
I don't know him. When she brought him up, I just said, well, he looks familiar.
Modern technology saves the day. Ms. Luttrell finds a match on Ancestry.com, messages a cousin, and discovers Lee Leeks. She then Facebook stalks him and thinks she looks like his daughter. But is it real or just wishful thinking?
And so how did you connect with him through his family?
Through Ancestry.com, directly messaged a family member who was my cousin, says he was my cousin. And then his wife actually was the one who made his profile. So I was talking directly mostly with his wife. And then I also talked to him as well. They came to the conclusion that possibly Lee Leeks could be my father in the family.
Ah!
Mom's vague description doesn't help much. She did say he was younger, and Mr. Leeks was 19 while she was 35. Mom admits she was at a party with a younger guy, but that's still a whole lot of maybe.
Well, my mom, like I said, the 3 stories that I gave you was talk to her about like the age range as well. Like at the time he would have been, I think 19 and she was 35. She said it is possible because she remembers going to the party like she had stated and he was younger.
Oh, she remembered sleeping with a young guy at this party.
Yes.
Most confident denial ever. The judge asks if he remembers the party, and he flat out says no. No hesitation, just a firm, I would have remembered that. The audience laughs. Same, dude.
Do you remember this party and this one-night stand?
No, I'm just looking at it right now thinking, okay, it's nice to meet you, but no, I was not at that party.
Were you ever at a party having sex with an older woman?
No. You know, if I'm having a child or anything like that, if I even know there's a chance I'll have a child, I'm sticking around. I'm not going anywhere.
Mr. Leeks pulls out a picture of his mom, and whoa, they do look alike. Even the judge pauses. If he's not the dad, then why does she look like his mom's twin?
Ms. Luttrell submitted a younger photo of herself. Does that look more familiar to you? So you don't remember her from a party? You don't remember her?
No, I will say this, if I can just share this with you.
Yes. What is this evidence, sir?
This is a picture of her right next to my mom. They're side by side on here. And they look so much alike. She's related to us somehow, some way.
Plot twist. At the time of conception, they lived just 14 minutes apart. They could have crossed paths, but Mr. Leeks is sticking to his story. He was not at that party.
The truth is you all didn't live too far away from one another at that time. You were in Sacramento, Mr. Leeks, and Ms. Luttrell, you were as well about 14 minutes away from one another. So, I mean, it wouldn't be inconceivable to think you could have been at the same party.
If I was partying that good, that must have been a good partying. I mean...
When she asked his family, they said, yeah, Lee was wild back then. Not exactly a strong denial. She's desperate for a DNA test. Will science prove what she feels in her heart?
Begging you, I'm pleading for this DNA test because we have a really strong connection as well over the phone. I've felt like his daughter just talking with him, and as well as the other similarities with me being a musician. He told me that his mother was a singer. So I really truly believe that this is a big possibility that he's my father.
Drum roll, please.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Leeks, you are not the father.
Oh boy, this case is messy from the start. Judge Lake introduces Jones vs. Hernandez/Trevino, where two women claim Mr. Trevino is their baby daddy, but he's outside dodging drama like it's a reality show. When he walks in, you just know it's about to get wild.
You are each here today to prove to a man that he is the father of your children.
Yes, sir.
Now that man, Mr. Trevino, is waiting outside the courtroom and will join us shortly.
Mr. Trevino walks in looking like pure awkwardness. Miss Jones comes out swinging, saying he's been denying her daughter, like a game of ping pong. He's just standing there like, I just want the truth. But Miss Jones is not having it. Buckle up, it's gonna be a long ride.
Mr. Trevino, your name was popping up so much, I just figured we better just bring you on in.
How you doing? He's denied her back and forth. He says, I'm not the father. You have not been there.
My family and I have done a lot.
Keyword, your family.
Now it gets weird. Mr. Trevino pulls out a doctor's timeline like he's solving a crime. He claims he doesn't remember being with Miss Jones then, and she claps back, of course you don't. The way he's stumbling. She might be right, but she's about to take it up a notch.
Now you claim you went to a doctor's appointment at some point in June, around the 18th.
Yes.
And you're thinking back to that week in March, the estimated dates of conception. I don't remember being intimate with her around that time.
Judge Lake tries to bring in some feelings, reminding Miss Jones she once loved Mr. Trevino. She admits it, but quickly adds, he was also a hot mess. The emotions are flying, but don't get too comfy. It's about to explode.
You did choose to be with him, so it had to be something about him you like.
You're right. And you have to follow your heart, who you love at the time. I did. I was in love with him. I don't remember nothing because he's the charmer. I was always intimate when he wanted.
Oh, now you don't remember.
The spiteful lie boom. Miss Jones admits she once told Mr. Trevino he wasn't the father, just to hurt him, and she says it felt good. Trevino looks like he just found out Santa isn't real. He's not buying her excuse, and things are about to get crazier.
It turned into an argument, and right away, she went down and gave me a low blow, and I was like, I've been doing this. She said, I said, you know what, I've been doing all this for the baby, and she's probably not even mine, and she says, matter of fact, she's not yours.
Oh, and it felt so good.
So you're saying you set it out of spite.
Now Trevino fires back, saying Miss Jones used to party and date married men. She's like, I was single and living my best life. They're throwing accusations like it's a roast battle. But hold up, there's another woman about to join the fight.
Before we got into a serious relationship, she was club hopping. She was, going out with him and going out with him, bringing him
with
home.
No children.
Yes, you were engaged and married.
Oh, really?
Maybe you gotta get yours too. Everybody has to do their own thing and get theirs. And you told me out of her mouth because when we started getting to know each other, I asked her what type of person she was.
Now Trevino questions if Hernandez's baby is his. His reason? She got dressed up every time he left for work. Oh, and the baby has a hairy back, but he claims he isn't hairy. Hernandez is like, dude, I'm Mexican. We're just hairy. This logic is next level ridiculous.
There's been so many times where I'm going off to work and she's over here straightening her hair and putting on makeup. Why don't you do that while I'm there? You should be doing that for me, not when I'm on my way to work. Guys coming over, and when I'm getting home from work,
coming over
they're
for
leaving.
My brothers, not coming over
you know
for
what I mean?
me.
Like,
I can't.
And her brothers, by the way, her brothers hate me.
Judge Lake has had it. She tells Miss Jones she can't complain when she once told Trevino he wasn't the dad. Then she tells Trevino to quit playing detective. The courtroom is holding its breath. Time for the big moment.
Now, when you get so angry at a man, I'm gonna hurt you the way you hurt me, and I'm gonna tell you that this child isn't yours, because he then starts to act like child isn't his.
You're right.
Here we go. DNA results. Surprise, surprise.
Mr. Trevino, you are father.
Ms. Tucker is trying to prove Mr. Hunter is her father after her mom dropped a DNA bomb on her 10 years ago. She thought another man was her dad, but that turned out to be wrong. Mr. Hunter has been dodging DNA tests like it's an Olympic sport.
Miss Tucker, you believed another man was your dad until a bomb was dropped on you 10 years ago when your mother admitted that the defendant is your biological father. You opened your case to prove to Mr. Hunter that he is your dad.
Ms. Tucker is desperate for answers after growing up thinking the wrong man was her father. He told her over the phone in 5th grade that he wasn't her dad, like a bad customer service call. Now she just wants the truth, but things are about to get even messier.
I opened my case because for these last few years, I have been trying to get Charles to do a DNA test with me. I scheduled a test, he didn't show up, and it's just a lot of confusion in my own mind, and it's very traumatic to me. I'm trying to figure out if he's my father or not to close this chapter in my life.
Mr. Hunter says he was told 30 years ago he wasn't the father, so he left town for 15 years. Now he's back and more confused than ever. But wait until you hear the next twist.
Who her father really is. What is your response?
I wanted to find out who her father really is also.
You don't believe you are?
Well, I had doubts because her mother told me that I wasn't 30 years ago, so.
You hear your daughter speak?
Yes, Your Honor.
Express her pain?
Yes, Your Honor.
You say you and Mr. Hunter have always known that he was her biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Tucker overheard her supposed dad say he didn't believe she was his child. One second, she was excited to talk to him, and the next, he was denying her like a bad holiday surprise. And middle school made things even worse.
I was in the 5th grade, and his sister had came and got me one weekend like she always did. They were on the phone, and I was over, and I walked in, and I asked, was that him on the phone? And she said yes. She gave me the phone, and it was my first time ever talking to him. I was really excited. And that's when he told me that my mom was not being honest with me, and he knew I wasn't his daughter.
A random woman told Ms. Tucker she looked just like her real dad, Mr. Hunter. When she asked her mom, she got a quick, "That lady don't know what she's talking about."
I was in the 7th grade. Where we're from is very small, so I was at a store. There's a woman who knows them both, and she told me, she said, "You look just like your dad." And so I go, "Oh, you know my dad?" And I said his name, and she goes, "That's not your dad." That was the first I have ever heard of him. So I went home, and I did tell my mom what she said, but my mom just said she was lying.
Mr. Hunter says he was told he wasn't the father, so he just left. Years later, rumors made him second guess, and now he's confused like the rest of us.
Adrian told me she was pregnant, and she told me the child wasn't mine. She told me she was pregnant. She said the baby wasn't mine. I left and I got my life together. And I stayed gone for 15, 16 years. I came back to North Carolina hearing rumors that she was mine. So what am I supposed to do when someone tells me I'm not the father? I move on with my life.
Middle school drama at its peak. Ms. Tucker got called out of class to meet a man claiming to be her father. Spoiler, it was Mr. Hunter, and she shut him down real quick.
I was in middle school. The young woman that is like his daughter, I guess he was there to pick her up. This was the first day I ever saw him. And he told me who he was. He was my dad. That's what he said. So
what?
That's what he told me that day. Said the other man was my dad. And just so happened, my mom still said no. And then we see him. I guess he had just moved back to town.
Ms. Tucker's aunt spilled the tea in the car, revealing her mom wasn't telling the truth. Her mom sat there looking guilty while everything unraveled.
I was 23, and we were in the car with my aunt, and I just was talking about some things that I wanted to do, and my aunt made the comment to my mom that she had not been truthful to me about who my dad was, and she needed to tell me the truth. My mom, she just looked like my aunt better keep her mouth shut.
Oh.
Yeah.
Plot twist. Mr. Hunter dated Ms. Tucker's mom's sister. You can practically hear the audience gasping.
Well, I had met a young lady. Come to find out it was Adrian's sister. And I thought about that.
So you slept with her sister. Did you know this?
This has nothing to do with my sister.
When I came back to North Carolina, Adrian wouldn't to me, she wouldn't talk to me, she had nothing to do with me. That was the reason why I felt she wouldn't talk to me.
Drum roll.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Hunter, you are not the father.